Hello YouTube, my name's Marie and today I'm going to discuss with you the full season of the Netflix original K-drama Romance is a Bonus Book. So I'm going to follow up with a lot of the criticisms that I mentioned within my first impression, and I do recommend that you watch that first impression because I'm not going to go over the characters or the plot synopsis because I did that in the first impression and I'm just not going to repeat myself. Perhaps one of my biggest gripes within this series is actually the reason why I put it on in the first place, and that is Lee Jun-suk. You could say I'm a fan, but because of his involvement, I went into this show with some crazy high expectations and I was initially let down. My enjoyment for the series did increase as the show went on, but not because of his character like I would have assumed. He's the name talent of the show. He is the primary draw to this show, at least for me. I didn't really recognize the female lead, but anyways, his character is by far the most uninteresting. He doesn't develop at all, and all of his powerful moments are actually in flashbacks. What happens in the past is very intriguing to me, and you can see in those flashbacks that Lee Jun-suk is giving it his all. So I understand now why he was drawn to this role and decided to take this role on. But if I were him and his management team, I would be so pissed. Because the way the storyline is edited together and told to the audience is devoid of any emotion, and you lose all of the impact of his great acting. Honestly, I think the script needed one more structural edit. The climax of Romance is a Bonus involves a character who is dying from Alzheimer's disease. It's clear to me that the audience was supposed to really care for this character, or at least care that other characters cared about this character who is dying from Alzheimer's, but I didn't give any cares. Really frustrating to me is that the scenes that would have allowed you to get invested in this character who is dying from Alzheimer's disease are already there, are already embedded in the show and in the script. They're just lost within the flashback sequences. If I had been the writers, I would have shortened the timeline and allowed those scenes to be played out in real time, in the present. Because that way you are put in the shoes with the male lead and you're allowed to experience these really heartbreaking scenes with him, and I think that would have let those moments and those emotions actually land and hit home. This could have been a heart-wrenching drama, but it's not. The last two episodes, in my opinion, were boring, were stale, were I was on my phone half the time. I just didn't care because that's when this major climax was happening and all the characters were getting together about this other character with the Alzheimer's, and it's just like you just didn't care about any of it. There are a couple other story elements that I think also needed to be fleshed out a little bit. One being the motivations for our second male lead. Those are also tied in with the character who has Alzheimer's disease. So if you had just developed the Alzheimer's disease character a little bit more, I think it would have been incredibly beneficial for many different aspects of the show, because a lot of characters tie into that one character. Is that making any sense? And secondly, the female lead has a daughter. She has a child. She is a mother. That is a driving factor for her in trying to find a job. She wants to be able to financially support her daughter who is studying elsewhere or something. The show does not do anything meaningful with this daughter. I don't necessarily need to see the daughter. I don't need to meet the daughter. I don't need to see a lot of interactions with the daughter and the mother, or the daughter with other characters. Like, I don't need to see it necessarily, but I do need to have conversations surrounding the daughter. They touch on it very briefly in, I think, only one episode, and I couldn't tell you which episode, but it's Played for Laughs, and it was freaking hilarious, but it made me very hungry for more because I felt like they were just scratching the surface. This is a romance. I don't like, there's no spoiling you, this is a romance. So there's no real discussion with the leads about what it would mean for the male lead to become a stepfather, to take on that responsibility. And obviously they've known each other for a very long time. He already knows this child. They don't really talk about the child. They don't never mention like if he has a good relationship with the child, if he likes the child, if he wants to be a father. Like it's missing. And it didn't really bother me. Maybe if I was a mother myself, this would be much more of an issue, but I did think it was very odd, a very strange choice, and I would have preferred if they just cut the child out completely. There's already enough juicy drama with the fact that she is a divorcee in a society that really stigmatizes divorcees, so there's already enough drama that way. I don't think you needed to throw in this ghost child, especially if you weren't going to do anything significant with them. So I've got my negatives out of the way. Now let's talk about my positives. And there's not as many positives as there are negatives, but the positives that I do have are very important. They made a very big impression on me, and that is the focus on women over 30 in the story's narrative. I really loved and appreciated the three main women that they focused on, one of them being the female lead, another being the boss of the female lead. I'm not quite sure what her role is within the publishing company, if I'm being honest, but she's obviously up there. So there's her, and then there's also the female lead of the marketing team, and I loved their dynamic together, like as a threesome. It starts off with a little bit of competition, and usually I really don't like that. I don't like pitting women against each other all the time, because I think for the most part we're very good at supporting each other, at propping each other up, but we do move towards that, you know, like within two of the characters they butt heads at first. One is definitely showing her superiority, but then they grow to have a great mutual respect for one another, and I loved it. The entire dynamic and growth of that relationship was so good. it was so good. It was so good. Yeah, just seeing older women in the workforce who are fierce and who are still living. You know, I think a lot of times once a woman is over 30, she becomes very invisible within media. This was great. This was really good, because not only do I think it's great if you're watching this and you are an older woman, there's so many great dynamic women for you to relate to, but it's also really great for me because I'm young still, but I often get anxiety over the fact that I am growing older, because I just don't watch enough stories and enough media that follow an older woman's perspective. Overall, I give Romance is a Bonus a 4 out of 5 stars. The romance itself, while it's very cute, I do think it's slightly off. It's missing something very slightly. I think it's off. Anyways, have a good day, have a good night, bye.